Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I heartily welcome each one of you present here for the 14th edition of SOS India Electronic Supply Chain. Can we all give a huge round of applause with some good energy? Everybody, come on, let's start this event with some good energy. Thank you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Shamya Jirgal, and I'm honored to be the host of this wonderful event. And we're going to begin this event with a brief note. Electronics Industry Association of India, or ELSINA, was established in 1967 as the first industry association supporting electronics hardware manufacturing industry. SOS India was initiated by Electronic Industry Association of India in 2009 in Chennai to accelerate development of the Indian electronics supply chain. Our vision has been to establish SOS India as a flagship event of Tamil Nadu state for the electronics hardware sector, encouraging and enabling investments in the electronics industry, and to bring all the stakeholders on a single platform to enable better communication and understanding among buyers and suppliers of electronics value chain. Ladies and gentlemen, today buyers are invited from all over the country and abroad, enhancing demand for electronics components, products, services from Tamil Nadu. With the support of Government of Tamil Nadu, SOS 2025 would be the largest electronic show in the state. And in this event is a 2 days exhibition of 150 plus exhibitors, 2-day conference with key speakers and industry leaders from domestic and global companies. Buyer-seller meetings with 50 plus international and large domestic buyers. Also, ladies and gentlemen, today we have invited international delegations from Taiwan, Japan, Singapore, South Korea, and other countries. We hope that everyone will be able to maximize the benefits of this event. With this note, let's start our first session. The first session is going to be on components ecosystem, segment-wise status, potential and challenges. The components ecosystem is a necessity for the growth of manufacturing and assembly of various products. The session will address the challenges faced by the Indian components sector, including dependence on imports, zero import duties, skill gaps, infrastructure limitations, and the need for greater R&D investment. To chair the session, I would request Mr. Sanjeev Narayan, co-founder Syrma SGS Technologies Limited, to please come on the stage. Can we all give him a huge round of applause, everybody? Mr. Narayan is a leading industrialist with over 45 years of experience in the electronics industry. Mr. Narayan is a first-generation entrepreneur, an electronics engineer from IIT Delhi, and a MBA from FMS. He co-founded SGS Technics, an electronic manufacturing services company, in 1990 along with 3 other professionals. In 2021, SGS Technics merged with Syrma Technologies to further strengthen their design and manufacturing capabilities for the global and domestic OEMs. Mr. Narayan was the president of ELSINA for 2 terms in 1988 to 1989 and in 2002 to 2003. He was also the chairman of ESC in 2007 to 2009. He has been closely involved in policy making with various government agencies for development of the electronics industry in India. Once again, a huge round of applause for Mr. Sanjeev Narayan, everyone. Now, I would like to invite the panelists on the stage. For electromechanical, Mr. Amit Gupta, Sandcraft Industries Private Limited. With over 2 decades of experience in the mobile and consumer electronic industries, Mr. Amit Gupta played a key role in driving operational excellence and innovation across global manufacturing operations in USA, China, and India. As the founder and the managing director of Sandcraft Industries, Amit leads a company specializing in mechanical components and accessories in the electronic industry. Mr. Gupta has done MS in Industrial Engineering from Texas A&M University and MBA from Cox Business School, Dallas. Once again, a huge round of applause for Mr. Amit Gupta, everybody. For raw materials, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Richard Putota, Senior Director, McDermid Alpha Electronic Solutions. Mr. Richard Putota is a distinguished leader in electronics manufacturing industry with over 37 years of expertise spanning PC fab, semiconductor materials and electronics assembly. He has been industry knowledge and hands-on experience. With his vast experience and commitment to industry growth, Mr. Putota brings insightful perspectives on technological trends, market dynamics, and best practices in electronics manufacturing. Once again, a huge round of applause for Mr. Richard Putota, everyone. For component supply chain for EMS, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Ilan Chelian, Vice President and Managing Director, Sanmina, India. Mr. Ilan is a Vice President and Managing Director of Sanmina, India. He brings with him rich and diverse experience of the OEM, ODM and EMS industry spanning 32 years. Before joining Sanmina, he has held various leadership roles in the technology conglomerates like APC, Schneider Electric in India, Seagate and Toshiba, TEC, South Asia Pacific region. A huge round of applause for Mr. Ilan Chelian. Now, I would like to invite on stage for PCB, Mr. Pradeep Menon, CEO Micropack Private Limited. Mr. Menon has over 30 years of industrial experience with the last 20 years of Micropack. A mechanical engineer by training from the University of Calicut, he holds a master's degree in manufacturing management from BITS Pilani. He has been an integral part of Micropack's journey, contributing to its growth into a successful and technological-driven PCB manufacturer. Once again, a huge round of applause for Mr. Pradeep Menon, everyone. I would hand over the mic to Mr. Sanjeev Narayan to start the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Very warm morning to all of you. I think it's been a great journey that we had yesterday. We covered a lot of sectors and different sessions. What I'm very happy to tell you is that, we've got the entire ecosystem here on the dais, starting from raw materials to components to the EMS and the PCBs. We have the electromechanical, and this is, I think, the best possible combination that we could have for this panel. So that makes my job very easy, because we've got all elements of what is needed to make a perfect fix. So what I'm going to do is, without getting too much into details right now, I'm going to request each one of the panelists to give their opening remarks, and thereafter we'll take specific questions that I will shoot at each one of them. And can we start with you, Pradeep, on the PCB and the component side?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thanks, Sina, for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this session. Yes, I think it's a great initiative of Alzina to bring in the leaders from all the industries connected to electronics at the right time. I think if you look at it, the way in which electronics is playing an integral part in the growth of the projections what we have for India is immense. And it's the kind of challenges what the industry faces has to be brought forward for everybody to make note and act upon. With respect to PCBs, so basically Micropack is a company which basically focuses on aerospace and defense. So the A&D is a very small segment or industry which we focus, but I think I would like to add whatever that I can with respect to the other industries as well. See, the basic driver, of course, is the consumer electronics, depending, kind of considering the big, the population, the market, what we have in India. So everything electronics will have PCBs, and PCBs has to be, the kind of PCBs what we have also have to change depending on the kind of challenges what we have with respect to miniaturization what we have. So it's a mix of many things which we would like to look at PCBs. You see, in India, if you look at it, we have got almost like I think around 5 to 6 billion is the PCB market, what we see in India. And of course, if you look at it, 80 to 90% is imported. And the kind of the manufacturers, the kind of PCBs, what is being manufactured in India is also not the high-end ones. Mostly it is the double sides and the single sides which is manufactured. The companies which are in the organized sector, which makes the higher layer count PCBs are more restricted to the low volume, high mix kind of segment. And the challenges are with them for is basically to scale up is many, okay? Because it's a highly investment intensive product. It's a red category industry because you have a lot of, the plating which happens for the product. It also calls for multiple approvals and water treatment, those kind of challenges. And the biggest challenge, of course, is the raw material. If you look at it, the ecosystem, what we have in India, is nothing. We only everything. Almost 90% of the total raw materials what we have is being imported. China, Taiwan, and that poses the biggest challenge for PCBs to scale up to the levels of what China does. China is doing almost like 80 to 85%. If Asia Pacific contributes to almost 85 to 90% of the total PCB production in the world globally. And of that, if you look at it, I think 80 to 90% of that also comes from China. And the whole ecosystem is mostly focused in China, and that poses the biggest challenge for any of the manufacturers outside China also to do it. But I think if you look at it, there are countries like Thailand, Vietnam, which has taken a lot of initiatives lately. And I think we should also take a cue from them. Because I think India missed a buzz when a couple of years back when there was a big buzz about China plus one, wherein a lot of talk was there on things moving out of China. But I think there are countries like Thailand and Vietnam, Malaysia, which gained the maximum, while it was, I think, not much for the India. I'm sure that the government policies also plays a very important part in trying to make things easier for the PCB industry. It is an industry by itself for sure, and it requires really special attention to make it. I think raw material ecosystem is the biggest challenge for PCBs. I think I will take the questions later or maybe add on to it later.
Okay. Thank you, Pradeep. I think, he rightly said that PCB is one of the most important components of the electronic ecosystem. I'm just taken back to where we were if you remember the radio transistors and the televisions way back in the 70s, they were almost 100% made from local components and local materials. And it's unbelievable that in this whole journey that we have now come to think where we are talking about most of it being imported. I mean, what a change that has taken place. It's not that we can't do it. It's a question that we have the right policies, it can be done. We consciously killed the component industry over this period of time. Anyway, what we are going to discuss is how we're going to reinstate this whole infrastructure. Next, I'm going to request Amit Gupta to talk to us on the electromechanical, because I think PCB, electromechanical are very important key components, and then we will be coming to the raw materials components. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji. Since you were talking about how the ecosystem got killed, I also want to take the opportunity and talk about how India was already in the forefront of the manufacturing, and then, then we kind of got surpassed by China. So I see a lot of students walking in, so maybe I take this opportunity also talk about a few things, not related to the electromechanical alone, but something related to the industry and the business in general, and what China has done. I've had opportunity and fortunate to work for a multinational company in China for a few years and also worked in the US. When I came back to India after 8 years working in the US, and then we started, the Nokia ecosystem started, and a lot of expertise came. And having seen China last 20 years, how they have grown the ecosystem, how the industry has just flourished there, it's quite amazing. And not that it cannot be done in India, and I'm sure there's a lot of talks. Yesterday also we've seen a lot of people, and we've seen a lot of talks happening, but India journey is also starting, and I think there's a lot of potential. So a couple of things. One is all the industries were there, and then kind of China surpassed it. But when I see the expertise, the skill set, there's a lot of skill set already here. There's a lot of expertise. It's just the scale that China has, and China has utilized that scale to export to the world. And I think India is building that now, and I think we can surpass also in the next decades or so. Now, coming to the electromechanical parts, we do the plastics, I represent Sandcraft Industries. We started about 7-8 years back, and we've had the expertise, we've had the skill set. But when we started this journey, we saw that there's a potential now. The tide was turning, and there's a lot of requirement for these electromechanical parts, especially the plastic enclosures, the metal enclosures, the structural metals. And the raw material is already available here. I mean, these are the granules, the polymers that is available, and there are companies which are multinational companies that already do the polymerization. They already do the manufacturing. So raw material is available. When you compare the manufacturing of these mechanical components from China vis-a-vis India, I think India is already competitive. And also the logistic cost is quite high of exporting and transporting these kind of products, these components of electromechanical. So there's a huge opportunity already for the country, India, to kind of flourish in these components. And that's how we chose these plastic and metal enclosures and the structural metals. And we see this journey going forward getting only stronger. And we also are investing in our facility, adding capacity, adding space, and adding customers as well. So this opportunity of, once in decades is now starting, and it's only growing. And thanks to Elsina and Sasi and the entire Elsina team for putting this together, this event, because yesterday also we saw a lot of traction, a lot of companies walking in, and a lot of energy brought in by this event. So the mechanical components, India is already there, and the skill set is there. It's just the scale now we need to bring in step by step. So I leave it to you, Sanjeevji, to take this forward, and any further questions, we can expand on each of these components.
Thank you, Amit. Very nice to know that, we are competitive even at this level, and it's the scale that is important in the electromechanical field. I think there's a very important comment that Amit has made, and I think that gives us a lot of hope that we can come back to our golden age where we were. Thank you. I'll come back to you. More questions. Richard?
Yes, sir. Yeah. As materials supply chain, we are seeing the emerging needs in India are becoming very different today than the times we started this business. Today, the technologies, especially the miniaturization and demands for high reliability, especially in the automotive, the material demands are ever increasing for better performance and reliability. And we also see there is emerging demands on green materials for sustainability, right? So when you imagine a stack of materials on a PCB, so as rightly said by Sanjeevji, we have the entire ecosystem is here. Imagine a PCB on which there is a device assembled. So even to assemble, to join the device, we are looking at materials which are much different than what we used to see now. They are looking at materials which can have a longer life and better reliability under elevated temperatures as well as mechanical stress. Imagine an electric vehicle. There are so many sensors, and the devices are 24/7 working. They say the EV car is functional even when it is parked, right? So when those devices are to be run, especially while on the road, they are small to get the range. And when they become small, they generate heat. And to manage heat, we need special materials. So we see those kind of requirements emerging in India today, which is really good for the industry as well. That apart, we see a lot of materials which go on top of the stack, like protection materials, right? We have conformal coatings. Those demands are ever increasing. And also materials which are to be potted, for the device to be kept away from the moisture and other harsh environments. We have demands arising on those potting compounds. And for thermal management, we have those thermal interface materials. Those demands are also arising nowadays. So on a whole, I would say materials market, which is roughly about $50 billion, understand globally, they say it's going to become by 2030 about $75 billion. And we see new materials as new technologies coming up. New materials are, in great demand. And as a company, McDermid Alpha, which I represent, I think perhaps we are the only company in the world which can have address from the chip to box, entire stack of materials, right from the PCB to the chip to the end box build. We have those materials, and our company is investing in big way on the R&D side to address the emerging demands coming out of technologies for materials. So that's my initial talk.
Thank you. Very nice. I think you've got a global company who has been present in India for a long, long time and has been providing support to the entire ecosystem and will continue to do so because they're also very strong in the semiconductor area. So that's very good, very heartening to hear this. I will now come to Ilan because he represents the EMS part, which is the assembly and the supply chain in this. So I thought, we'll cover the other areas and now we'll leave it to you to wrap up it. So what is most critical for you that you feel that is important to succeed in the assembly business? And then going backwards, what support you will be needing in this segment?
Good morning. Thanks for having me here. I see a lot of students, so let me start with a small story. I think many of us do not know that in 1948, we assembled Austin cars in India. So that's what our ecosystem started. It's a long story. We have learned so many things. We have built up almost tens of thousands of suppliers in mechanical partners. That is the situation wherein we went into electronics. So if you see anybody now in this world, they are having more electronics in their hand, their ornaments. So in next 20 to 30 years, we are going to go with all electronics. The good thing is we talk about $500 billion or whatever number, around 80% of the material or components we are going to import to make this $500 million. So our value addition is 10 to 20%. So I am an enabler now, so I got a seat of asking person now, not answering person as a EMS company. But we have the responsibility to ensure that localization has been continued and our real local value addition is happening in India. We talk about mechanical parts. I split into two, mechanical parts and electronics parts. Even mechanical parts, we are getting local, 50 to 60% is still the raw materials we are importing. So one is on the raw material, other one on the technology. So I just particularly go into some, we are now talking about telecom or cloud computing. So we are talking about a lot of data now. So there it generates a lot of heat in the electronic circuits. So for example, we need a heat sink. Heat sink we can able to make it here, but for the latest technology, it needs a copper pipe to conduct faster. So we don't have a purity of copper in India. Still we need to import from Japan or China or Europe. Similarly, we do not have a advanced CNC systems. So I am very glad that Mr. Amit and Mr. Pradeep, they are having a lot of technology, investing on technology. So I look at similar like mobile phone industry. We started as a assembler, then we start to do some more localization. So it's called phased manufacturing plan. So that was happening in the EMS industry. So now we are going into the raw material. So I do see that now the things are happening. So we start to invest on technologies and we start to bring in the raw materials. So that is for the mechanical side. If you take electronics, now everybody looking at, I want to do ATMP, I want to do OSAT, I want to do wafer, that and all need big investment. It will come. We believe that in 2 to 5 years down the road, we can able to see a lot of chips made in India going to come in our hands. But at the same time, another 20% contribution come from the passive components. So that the industry has to come up. And today morning we saw the news, one of the Japanese chip manufacturers is putting a big plant here. So we are already on it. So in a nutshell, yes, other one is memory parts, PCBs, and then other components. So we do see that a lot of potential, and then skilled manpower and technology is on the way. So we are hopeful that we could able to get it done in a quicker fashion. And we should also want to iterate one more thing, that we have a very able government now, which ensures that the stability in the policy, so which helps industry to go ahead and look for the long-term plan. So these are all the positive points what I see, and some of the challenges what we face, maybe I can take it in the next round. Yeah.
Thank you so much. No, I agree with you that, we might all have to accept that components is not an easy area. It's a very complicated area, has a lot of technology, has a lot of scale that we need to put together before we'll be competitive in the component sector. But all the same, we have to go along with this journey. Let me start with coming back to Pradeep. On the PCB side that you see, we have a great challenge. At the same time, we have to come out of it. What would be your recommendations and your suggestions as to what we can do to really make the PCB industry competitive? How do we bring in the first mover in terms of the key raw materials, for example, laminates or the copper foils? How can we bring about the transformation so that the PCB industry is also competitive and able to compete globally?
Sanjeevji, this, if you look at it, see, when I said that almost 85 to 90% of the PCBs are imported, it is actually, it's a matter of concern as well as it's something of a big opportunity for everyone. When you say 90% is imported, even if it's a small portion of that gets converted, it is a big benefit for the Indian industry as well. But at the same time, there are different types of PCBs which are there. There are single side, double side, and all these segments have got its own challenges. It is just not technology. Even as single side or double side, they will have price challenges. When even in the competition, the local market, they have competition. When it goes to a higher complex PCBs, you got technology challenges. So every industry or every segment at every level has got its own challenges. When it comes to the ecosystem with respect to supply chain, the biggest challenge, of course, I said, is all the raw materials are imported, and mostly from, you have China, and you got a lot of, even now, if you look at it, recently there has been a 17% increase in copper, the metal bearing material which is being exported out of China. It's a big impact when it comes to the, when it comes to the pricing of, especially when you have certain segments wherein very price sensitive, these kind of 17 to 18% increase is a huge, it makes a huge impact. So it is very important that we rely on our own, sources, our own raw material sources within India. That is the actual sense of being self-reliant in the true sense. But the challenge there also is, if you look at a copper-clad laminate, it is basically the, the glass cloth and the resin. If you look at it, that also need to be imported. So if you have most of it, again goes back to China. The success of China is that you have got an ecosystem wherein they got everything round. If you look at a copper-clad laminate manufacturer, if you go to China, you will have the glass cloth manufacturer there. Many of the companies make their own glass cloths, their own resin system. So everything is integral. Like if in India, if you have to do it something like that, we got to, even if somebody starts a copper-clad laminate manufacturing, you got to first get the resin from somewhere else, and you have the challenges with even the resin pricing. Because it depends on the crude. There are so many things which actually governs the pricing of that. So the challenges are plenty, but the thing is we need to make a start. Okay, somewhere or the other we have to make a start, and there should be some kind of an initiative which, which gives, which overrides all these kind of challenges, at least to a certain extent, wherein somebody who takes in the risk of going around, taking up this kind of a challenge, it makes sense for him as a business. At the end of it, every business, at the end of it, he has to have he's answerable to many people, the investors. The ROI has to be justified. And we find some ways and means of which the ROI can be justified. That is where the whole challenge from the government also, it can be with respect to incentives. In fact, the government has done quite a lot, especially in the last few years. If you look at MSIPs, you have the PLI scheme also, which is extended to PCBs also. You have the specs, which is there. But the thing is, how many people have really benefited out of it? If you look at it, especially in the PCB segment, I don't think there is not many people because the threshold was pretty high. And if you look at the PCB, there are few companies which are there, which is crossed the threshold what the government has specified. It is mostly the small companies which really runs the whole thing in India, especially and they don't really get qualified for the PLI scheme also. So and they have grown. Actually, if you look at 2019 was the reference year what it was. And the first PLI scheme, now the 5 years are over. I think maybe we are expecting the second scheme to be announced. But the last 5 years, if you look at it, maybe 2 or 3 companies in PCB companies would have benefited out of the PLI scheme. But that really, had it been looked at in a much better manner, practical manner, I think there would have been many people who have benefited out of it. There could have been much more investment happening. The gap is so much that any small growth which happens, I think this gives us the confidence in the investors to invest more, upgrade the technology, be ready to take more challenges. I don't think we can see a complete shift in which the dependency of PCBs from outside can be changed overnight. But I think it is a long journey, but I think it is around 15 to 20 years. I think, at least even if you can make it 50% of the PCB coming from India, it would be it is a possible thing which we can do.
Thank you so much. I think, we must all, when we look at it before we conclude our session today, look at how we can collaborate. One of the things I found that in Indian companies, they may be small, medium, but they find it very difficult to work with each other. So just leave that thought with you and see what we can do to make that happen. If we can play a role to catalyze that, I think that will be a big strength to move forward in this sector. Thank you. I'd come back to Amit now on the electromechanical. You've been talking about that we have everything, we have the raw materials, but what we need is scale. So what do you think is the fix for trying to build up the scale and then also replicating what you have succeeded in doing to maybe a half a dozen companies within India?
Yeah, I think that is also important, but I also kind of want to build upon what Ilan was saying and Pradeep was saying. Ilan was talking about the heat sinks and some technologies which are hard to manufacture, and the risk taking, what Pradeep was saying. I also want to share the journey, how Sandcraft got started, and kind of explain how this happened. So Sandcraft, we started the company 8 years back, but it started because a big corporate, a big company had the patience, had the support structure to start this company. And some of the gentlemen are sitting here from Salcomp. Salcomp was the company which gave Sandcraft birth, I would say. And we have Ruben, we have Arun in this hall, I think. I've seen them somewhere. Sasi is one of the major part of this company starting up. So it requires a couple of things. One is that there are entrepreneurs, there are risk takers, and in India, a lot of them are businessmen by nature. We call this Banya community, which is very prevalent in the north. So there's a lot of business mindset. Now, to support this, you need these big corporates, big companies, because they have the technology, they have the bandwidth, but what most of the sourcing heads and the managers are looking, I get it cheaper in China. I get the volumes. Why do I need to spend time and money to develop some supplier here? I think that needs to change, because that I've seen practically happening with us, with Sandcraft. Because Salcomp at that time said, look, we have a requirement and there is somebody who's willing to do. Let's train them. Let's give the patients time and energy to support them to grow this company. And we started with one part, one machine, and now we are 7 years, 8 years down the line, we have more than 50 machines, and we can scale this up to 100 machines. And this is, I would say, quite a big scale in this injection molding, plastic molding, and metals factory. So it could happen with us, and I'm sure it can happen with 10 other companies in the next couple of years. It's all what we require is some of the big companies, corporates here and in India to support the small companies, small MSMEs, to invest in them, not in terms of money alone, because money can be required, but it is about the time, support, quality, training them, explaining the requirements, and really bringing them up. And I'm sure there are a lot of students sitting here and thinking that they could start a company. I think by all means you should, because I don't believe there is a better time in the last 20, 30 years that I have seen US, China, or India. This is probably the best time to be in the electronics manufacturing. This is probably the best time to be in India to kind of grow the business, to grow the company, and really make some difference for the country. Thank you, Sanjeev ji.
I couldn't agree with you more. And if you're talking to the students here, I would say that, you're very lucky to be present here at this time, because you've got a whole innings ahead of you. And this is really a golden time in India, and manufacturing and innovation, both are being encouraged fully. So good luck to all of you. Thank you, Amit. Come back to Richard. Similar question that I had for Amit. What are things that you see in the raw material side that we can do to really kickstart the component manufacturing ecosystem?
Okay, so, Sir, when you look at the holistic view of that, I would align myself for your question in the way of enhancing the people here, especially the engineers working for this industry. I feel that over a period of time when I traveled, and one of the things which is ignored is the material side of the business. They look at only the assembly side, and if they can understand the impact of materials which can enhance the quality, performance, reliability, they would probably invest more time there. Things like companies like us, not our company alone, we have invested a lot in testing of materials, multiple stacks of materials, multiple materials that go into an assembly, different harsh environments, and we have the data. And if the fraternity here, like I was discussing with the Sriram yesterday, since he is the design side, so we are targeting at the design side. If they can open up, we can have a chat with them. We can enhance them, saying that, hey, these are the material sets which can actually give you the thing you're looking for. Suppose you have a task in your design for your performance, and we have the recommendations which comes by our experience, by our testing. So these are actually the few things which probably can enhance people to even design materials accordingly. Like I mentioned before, the miniaturization, power electronics, and also the computing, the data centers, they need to perform 24/7. And some of the devices, the components that go into the assembly, believe to be replaced every 9 months. That's the lifetime of those devices. Imagine then what kind of reliability that should go, even in design itself. So I think our industry here should take, advantage of people like us in the material side, whom we can enhance that, the assembly itself, their product, their performance, the reliability. So those are the challenges I feel that we can address. And that's the reason, as a company, we thought through, and we have even, as a CSR, we have invested on SMT lines in institutions like IIT Madras and College of Engineering in Pune. For the students who are here, they should take advantage of that. Go learn how the assembly is made, what materials that go into an electronics assembly, and they will be really adding value to themselves and be prepared for the career ahead for them also. So that's my input for you, sir.
Thank you so much. Coming back to Ellen and the EMS sector. Now, what are the current challenges that you're seeing to develop the EMS to the next level?
Let me go back to the question of my industry colleague Amit. He is asking, even though the part we manufacture in India is slightly expensive than China or some other part of the world, why you guys don't want to buy from here? I really appreciate that. If you go to the other parts of the world, whether it's US or Europe, they always motivate to buy local, even though it's expensive. So we should have that attitude in ourselves. So I appreciate that. We should do that. Money matters. So end of the day, when we buy a product, we don't buy at a higher price without any reason. So that's what we look at in two scenarios, whether it is indirectly helping EMS or the component ecosystem. What is cost of doing business and what is the ease of doing business? So in cost of doing business, we have a disadvantage in terms of 4 to 8% logistics cost, our electricity cost, our compliance cost, and overall other cost. So good thing is now our government and the industry realize, and earlier I say government is listening. I was wrong. Government is thinking ahead and taking actions. Government is not listening. So for example, for cost of doing business, the PLI scheme what we introduced earlier, as we discussed earlier before this meeting, it is not fully give a exact results of what we want. The local value addition is not there. It give the employment, but now we are working closely with the government to support our industry partners, PLI for the localization. So it means we are being motivated to buy from local. And then again, we are working on, I think we all know that Gati Shakti, so many schemes are there to improve our logistics cost and compliance cost. Suddenly government implement SIM, you need to apply. So after we put back, so now they realized now everything is going online, only the bill of entry, something is manual, but other than that everything, SEZ or DD becoming, everything is online. So compliance cost is coming down. So cost of doing business, government is doing. As a EMS, we are trying to go along all the our supplier partners, and then we are trying to motivate them to invest. They need a long-term business visibility. So with our customers, we could able to give the long-term business visibility. So we motivate them to invest. And in terms of ease of doing business, the compliance, the government policy stability, these are all we are motivating. So as a EMS, we see a lot of potential in growing, because now people say that ADD, anti-dumping duty, it's need of the hour. So people might not like me in my industry. They say, oh, you are promoting to do duty. Say 6 layers and below, you should get locally. Otherwise, the duty. Because why do we need police in the society? So we have to control. Then only the people will come back. So we have to motivate, one side incentivize, other side penalize. So that's what the balance, what we are looking at. We like to take the right and trying to continue to motivate ourselves and the ecosystem. I am very strongly hopeful. We are already in the middle of the path. We could able to double or triple in the next 2 to 3 years with the ecosystem what we are developing, and continue to improve the local value addition. So we are closely working with government, and we are trying to give a better solutions for overall. Thank you.
Excellent. I think that should be music to the ears of a lot of the component suppliers who may be present here. I can only say that, in Elsina, we are trying to create a forum where a few of the leading EMS players and key component suppliers, they've decided to work together to see how we can make things happen. Because ultimately, there is no straight answers as to this way or that way. There can always be a reason why you don't want to buy from a local guy, and there will always be a reason why you can buy from a local guy. So a lot of collaboration, I think that whole channel, according to me, is now being able to collaborate with each other. Within the components ecosystem, I mean, if there are 5 PCB manufacturers, why can't they work together to collate the demand, and then look at how they can get some key raw material suppliers or key piece part suppliers together. Similarly, if we can work together, and this forum, what we've decided is, at least some of us, and I'd request Meena to join also on this. It is basically Dixon, Sirma, we have Keynes. We've decided that, okay, we are going to have some of our procurement teams work with the component suppliers and see that why we can't source more from the Indian components. And there will be gaps where they'll find from the component suppliers, and they have agreed to work together with us. So we've selected a few components suppliers and a few EMS suppliers, and hopefully we'll give real shape to this in the coming months. So that will be one way, and then that will be a good way forward to try and put the two customers as well as suppliers together on one forum.
When we see the Aero India, whatever sir you said, similar things are happening. So when the companies are getting orders and they go together, they are all startup companies, and then they work with their supplier partners, because those things need a lot of new technologies. So they go with a small one company, one order, they cannot able to invest. So 5, 6 manufacturers of the end product, they go to the suppliers together, and that's the same suggestion. So we should also, yeah, thank you.
We'll do that. And can I just, one quick question just to all of you, and before that we'll throw it open to the audience. Tell me one thing, that what you think can be done to get people to work together. get people to work together. And I keep coming back to this because I think that's the biggest thing which is missing in our industry. And it's not, I think there's something in our psyche, in the Indian psyche. Can we, in the component or electronic sector, try and break that? Give me a quick response as to what you think can be done, one thing that can be done to make the change as far as this is concerned.
Yeah, I think it's a good point to make that everybody works together, but there are, again, differences in the kind of industry that each one of them cater to as well. See, we have got our own association, the Indian Printed Circuit Board Association, which is there. They try to collate the data, try to work together, try to make the common things wherein share it with the people, all the members. So there are a lot of efforts which is happening in that front as well, but may not be enough from whatever that we see. It is also because, you have the bigger, for example, in India, the biggest manufacturer, like, for example, AT&S, which is where the procurement, everything is centralized, and the thing, it is not very seldom with the thing where a same thing can be replicated in an Indian company, which can be done, wherein we talk about the scale of, the procurements are significantly low when compared to a company of that size, which is procuring multiple locations and they are negotiating things globally. A company like that may not be really interested in working with that, with diluting their system over with the Indian companies as well. So it is more with the Indian companies need to come together. Try to see what you said is very apt, wherein if you look at it, there is some copper-clad laminate which is being procured separately by around 10 different manufacturers. Maybe even a stockist can also help. Somebody, if the supplier can put in a stockist, that gives a price advantage to every one of them. So it is definitely something which can be thought about. But I'm basically a very optimistic person, and India is definitely growing. The kind of, if you look at it, the PCB itself is expected to grow at a 16% CAGR is, I think, whatever that I've read, 16%. That is huge. That is a pretty good growth, and everybody has got their share of it. So I think everybody are going to grow as well. But what really differentiates is the pace in which each one of them grow faster than the general industry growth. So that is where the difference is going to be made. But the future is definitely, at least the next 10 to 15 years, is definitely bright for the electronic industry in India.
Thank you. Ellen, you would like to comment on that?
I think as Pradeep said, the whole business runs based on the demand. So we are in a very sweet spot. A huge domestic demand is there, and couple of companies or tens of companies cannot able to make it. So there's a great opportunity for us to go together. I see a good collaboration in LCNI itself. So when we are having some kind of a problem related to a HSN code or something, so we take this opportunity, go through it, and then we realize that many of the companies have the similar issues, like a SCOMAT license or whatever. So these are all the forums, LCNA kind of forums we should use, and then make some more collaborative touch points, then we can further leverage it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Richard?
Yes, sir. So one thing I feel to network, I'm sure every new inquiry assemblers get, if it's high-end, definitely you have that bottom line looks better for you, right? So for your overseas business or even emerging new business for you getting into like computing for data centers, or getting into EV boards for power electronics for high performance environments. What I feel is that to have that kind of networking between the printed circuit board manufacturers, assemblers, material suppliers. So I just thought through taking advantage of this session itself. Like LCNA can set up some kind of a technical sessions not just the, on the, business alone, but on the technology sessions where, people come, like we call it a tech day in a year or in a 6 months. So we bring in emerging materials, emerging, PCB technologies they see, and you assemblers probably say, hey, I am looking forward for this particular assembly. These are the challenges I'm going to, encounter, and you guys have anything to tell us. That would probably shorten the, cycle of, reinventing things, or, going back and forth and seeking help of, so much of, from our own companies overseas. So that can probably, enhance our own ecosystem here. So I strongly recommend, and Elsina, we all can have a kind of a technology forum at least once or twice in a year, and people can come and share, apart from exhibitions, purely technical, and we all can share things on material side of the business as well as the assembly side of business.
Very good suggestion. Maybe we can follow through with that. Now that you have an important role to play in Elsina, so maybe that's the way forward. Amit?
Sanjeev ji, I think that is a very relevant question for this time and age. I see it like this. India is about 3 to 4 trillion economy, and China is about 30 trillion. In that, if you say electronics manufacturing itself, the scale of China is much ahead. It's more than 15 times of the India scale. So the pie is already, and there's a lot of shift happening for the manufacturing coming out of China because of the cost reasons, because of the duties US is imposing. A lot of things are happening. So the scale itself, the scale of the opportunity is quite big. And for the companies, I think whatever capacities in the next decade or so that we put in, grow the capacities or the technologies, bring in the technologies, it's going to be less. I mean, Foxcons and Luxshares, those big companies, multi-billion-dollar companies were made in the last 20, 30 years, and I'm sure those will come out of India also in the next decade or so. So the opportunity is already quite big. And that gives a lot of reasons for a company to say that I cannot do it alone. And I'm sure if we collaborate, maybe we can all get a share of a bigger pie. So I think that's one mindset that we are also going with. But I also see another way that we can support this happening is supporting a lot of startups. There's a lot of companies, there are a lot of entrepreneurs starting companies with some new technology, new idea. And I think if we can collaborate, have the big companies work with them, I think there's a reason that we can all figure out those, bring in those technologies, one, and then also bring some innovative ideas into our business and grow this and collaborate this ecosystem.
Thank you, Amit. I think, Raju, we still have some time. We can throw it open for some questions. Okay, can we have any questions from the audience if there are? Happy to take them. I have one here, Ram.
Sanjeev, you raised the question of how to collaborate. So, okay, now we are talking about, Elon said that the market is booming, opportunities are there. Why don't let's say EMS companies, 5 of them join and set up a large PCB company. 5 PCB companies join and set up, laminate laminate factories. Why don't you think in those lines? Because, see, we have been talking about this PCB stuff for the last 15 years. Nothing really has moved. But whereas now today the market is ripe, you people are big, and then you can easily join together 5 each in respective areas. You set up a large PCB plant and a laminate plant. That solves your problem.
I agree with you, Ram. I 100% support your idea. I mean, there's no reason why we can't work together. Unfortunately, that mindset has to change. And I think that, large EMS companies could be investing into components. You could be having large PCB companies working together to laminates is one of the things that I have suggested to a number of the PCB companies. Why don't you people together set up a laminate plant? If not, at least do one thing. You must be you're buying laminates from all over. Get one of these global companies to relocate here. If you cannot come together, at least get one global company to come and establish a plant. Here in India, we have the first one, and I can tell you, others will follow. So that's one change. I agree with you 100%, Ram. We can all make that little difference.
Key task for Raju to trigger this.
Correct. Yes, please. We have one hand here. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. I'm Sharat Kaul from Keynes Semicon, and of course, helping Keynes Technology, our EMS brothers, with their marketing. So I had an opportunity to work on the CHIMS data, and I was able to get a data analyst to go through the data, and obviously what the summary of it was that the big guys like Samsung and Foxconn came out to be the 80-20, and then 20 was the tail in terms of electronic component imports. But if we could analyze that tail and then the HSN codes collectively as an industry, and then we would know number 1, number 2, number 3, the top violators, or you could say, we could all combine and what came out of the report was thyristors, was one of the largest imported components in the country. So that data is invaluable for us, because then we will tell the industry, go make thyristor, you will get guaranteed business of so many units per year, etc. Because that, at the end of the day, is what the entrepreneur is looking for, that clarity on the demand. So if Alcina can take that lead, yesterday I heard that there's a portal, and they're trying to connect the industry with the component suppliers downstream. It can be part of that. So and the CHIMS data, let me tell you, is a mess. I mean, the spelling of Samsung, there was like 10 different spellings of Samsung. One with full stop, one with comma. So it needs a lot of cleanup, and MeitY is ready to cooperate with the industry. Make the data available, make it more clean, make it more sensible for us to slice and dice it. But that data is invaluable for our industry, and it'll give us a roadmap and a path. So this is one area of opportunity for us to collaborate.
Thank you for that input. We'll definitely look at what we can do. And I agree with you that at the moment, the way the government is trying to work with the industry, there could be no better time. I think that's a phenomenal achievement that both industry and government are working together. We'll work on that. Any other questions before we?
Hi, good afternoon.
Please
Ishwar.
identify yourself, please.
Yeah, I'm Ishwar from Brandworks Technology. My question, I'm into this EMS business from last 4.5 years. My question is, like, we have become Atmanirbhar in assembly. As Richard says, we are doing assembly a lot. So, like, almost 60-70% right now is Atmanirbhar assembly in India. I want to understand from Visionary that how and when we will be Atmanirbhar in component, and what should be the roadmap of people and government of India. Thank you.
That is the essence of what we are trying to do here this morning. Yeah, please, go ahead.
So in the session earlier, I was explaining, as an industry, we are working closely with the government. The previous PLI enabled a lot of employment, but it didn't fully support the local value addition. So now what we are working with the government is, in next 5 years down the road, we could able to see at least, I can say 40%. I just pull some number from here. 40% should be local value addition. It means I didn't count these semiconductors. So if you add that, it will come to 70-80%. So that's what the roadmap, what the government and the industry has.
Yeah, please.
So I can try and answer the question. This 5 years back, I think you would have said, can we have Atmanirbhar assembly? And we are seeing that now, right? Last 5 years, that has happened. I think everybody has a role to play. The government has a role which it's playing with the government initiatives. The industries have a role, the corporates have a role, and the entrepreneurs, the MSMEs have a role, and I think that's happening also. So the government initiatives, the PLIs, the telecom PLI, the IT hardware PLI has really given a boost in the last 3 to 4 years, especially in bringing the assembly to India. A lot of companies, a lot of brands are now saying that we want to manufacture in India because there's a lot of incentives and there's a lot of duties for not bringing those products, just importing the FGs, finished goods. So that has happened, and I think the government yesterday also we've heard saying that there will be a PLI in the component industry as well, and which will also boost, which also will happen in the next few years. So we will see a lot of component manufacturers also will come in, and the collaboration should happen, and then I think this will also help. So I don't know if that answered your question, but this is
Clear. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, can we take one last question, Raju?
Hi, my name is Tarush Jain. I'm from Saru Smelting. We are a materials company. So just to add on, you were asking what does it take for people to start trusting each other and maybe work together. So in aerospace and defense, maybe some of us have heard about the Shrijan portal. So I think something like that, a similar system which Alcina can probably undertake. So the private companies, all of them can put their requirements which are being imported over there. So it's an anonymous sort of a portal. You remove the trust aspect also, but you put down that, okay, we are looking to localize this eventually, and that is available to everyone to kind of slice and dice and figure out. So it's just a suggestion, and your inputs on that would be invaluable.
Thank you. No, I think any suggestion is welcome because I think the whole thing is collaboration and working together. Ultimately, we as a country have to succeed. And once we get into that mode, I think we'll each find a solution to this problem. And all have to work towards one cause that ultimately, if we don't succeed as a country, if we don't succeed as an industry, then we will not succeed as a company. It's only a question of time. So once we realize that this is the path and we all have to cooperate, I think we'll have a positive frame of mind. And that is what my dream would be.
Sir, can I add something to that?
Please.
See, actually on the other side, we have two groups, WhatsApp groups running, one in northern India, one in southern India, but a lot of people are there, about 250 each. You won't believe, every day, at least there are about 20 discussions happening on technical stuff. I have this failure in my process. Can somebody help me? Irrespective of who they are, they all come up with, yes, I went through this. This was my finding. I came, over this. So if you are really interested, we can accommodate you in one of those groups. I tell you, very useful for the country. That's the kind of collaboration also we are looking at, from multiple segments, not just, EMS alone, from automotive, from, computer hardware. So wherever these segment technocrats can bring in a lot of value to these groups. Yeah, that's one of the collaboration. Maybe a small way, but we already started that.
Okay, with this, I would like to close this session. And with the strong belief that the components, which is the most critical and important part of the whole ecosystem right now, is going to take off. Each one of us will play our roles. And I think the government is also, hopefully, in the coming month, will have a new policy, the component policy, which will help especially our MSME sector. Because I think MSME sector's inputs into this sector will be very vital. And components, if we look at it historically, has been really the backbone, has been the MSME sector. So let's all hope that will happen. And each one of us here on the dais have to play our own roles, and we should continue to do that and motivate the team. I'm very optimistic that the component ecosystem will take place in the next 5 to 7 years. So with that, I would like to close this session and thank very much my panelists here. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the esteemed panelists for sharing your valuable insights and expertise with us. Now, I would like to invite on stage Dr. Sasikumar Gendam, President Elsina, to please come on the stage and hand over the mementos as token of appreciation. Can we all give a round of applause, everyone, for Dr. Sasikumar Gendam, everybody? So we would like to thank Mr. Sanjeev Narayan, co-founder, Sirma SGS Technology Limited, for moderating the session. Can we all give a huge round of applause, everyone? Come on, let's keep clapping, everyone. Come on. We would like to thank Mr. Amit Gupta, Sandcraft Industries Private Limited, for sharing his invaluable thoughts. Can we all give a huge round of applause once again for Mr. Amit Gupta, everyone? We would like to thank Mr. Richard Putota, Senior Director, McDermott Alpha Electronic Solutions. A huge round of applause, everyone, for Mr. Richard Putota. We would like to thank Mr. Ilan Chalian, Vice President and Managing Director, Sanmina India. A round of applause, everyone. Also, we would like to thank Mr. Pradeep Menon, CEO, Micropack Private Limited. A huge round of applause for Mr. Pradeep Menon, everyone. I request everyone to please stay on the stage. Let's take a group picture.
May I request you to please stay on the stage, sir? Sir, please stay on the stage. Please stay on the stage. We have a very special guest, the honorary consulate, from the honorary consulate of the Republic of Mauritius, Mr. Maliyappan Nangalingam. Sir, kindly, we request you to please come on the stage. He is the honorary consul, and we are, privileged to have him here. So, just wanted to recognize his presence and thank him for being here. May I request Mr. Shashikumar to please, present. Thank you. Mr. Nagalingam is keen to look at the exhibition and the products available, which he would like to, share with his, colleagues in Mauritius. So I think, Mauritius could also be a good market for our industry. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for being here and for visiting us. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I would also request, Mr. Shashikumar to kindly welcome Mr. Wan Ahmed Tarmizi Idris from the Consulate General of Malaysia. Mr. Idris, please kindly join us on the stage for a minute. Mr. Idris is the Trade Counsel, and we are in touch with him for more business collaborations with companies in Malaysia. Thank you to the to this panel, sir. And we'll have the next talk immediately from our friends from Russia. Mr. Pokrovsky is here. Over to you.
Thank you, everyone. I request everyone to please settle down.